Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Nar from the Nar Report. Back today with another episode. This is episode 38 of the Nar Report. It is a pleasure to be here. And before we get things started, I just want to say thank y'all for all the love and support. I appreciate all the love and support I'm getting on all of my social media platforms on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. All right. If you're new to the YouTube, make sure you sub to the YouTube, right? If you love sports content, NFL, NBA content. All right, I talk football as well, too. So the NBA season's over. So there's a lot going on in the offseason. You know, you got free agency, the draft coming up this week. So if you're new to the YouTube, like I said, make sure you sub to the YouTube and click that bell to make sure y'all get all of the notifications on when I go live and when I post stuff. All right? And don't forget to follow the social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok at _Nar_report. This is it right here. All right. Instagram and TikTok, it's the same thing. _Nar_report. All right. Let's get into it, baby. And starting off with today's episode, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder are your 2025 NBA champions. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning this year's NBA Finals. Yes, congratulations to OKC. Well deserved. They defeated the Indiana Pacers in 7 games, my bad. They won last night in Game 7 at home, 103-91 in Oklahoma City. Let's talk about it. OKC, I knew this was going to happen. I knew OKC were going to win. They haven't lost back-to-back games in a playoff series, so I knew that they was going to come ready to play last night at home in front of their fans. I just knew that they was going to have a great night. It was going to be consistently on offense and defense. Chet Holmgren with 5 blocks. Defense was on one for OKC. You got Caruso, a huge impactor for the Oklahoma City Thunder's defense. Offensively, they were good. Coach Dinknall, congratulations. You deserve to be an NBA champion. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Finals MVP. And he won an MVP this season. What a season for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Well deserved, man. I'm proud of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for winning Finals MVP. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about both of these teams' season as a whole from OKC side and Indiana side. So I'm going to start off with OKC side. What a phenomenal season by the Oklahoma City Thunder. 2025 NBA champions. Well deserved, man. They deserve to win a ring. Best team in the league, number 1 team in the West. They deserve to win it all. Okay? With the young talent they got, the great head coach, athletic, the city, their fans. Oklahoma City got the best fans in the NBA. Okay? Because that arena be sold out in the playoffs and in the regular season. They be filling those seats up, baby. So I just want to take this time to congratulate the Oklahoma City Thunder on a phenomenal season. You are the 2025 NBA champions. Congrats to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Well deserved to be an NBA champion. Won MVP and just won Finals MVP last night. Well deserved, man. What a phenomenal season by the Oklahoma City Thunder. This could be the start of the dynasty right here. This team could become a dynasty. They're going to be the best team in the Western Conference with years to come and the best team in the league with years to come. And they got a lot of draft picks. I'd like to mention that as well, too. The Oklahoma City Thunder got a lot of draft picks. So you know what that means? They can continue to get younger. All right. They're going to be one of the most best dynamic, youngest teams in the NBA. All right. With years to come. All right. So OKC, great season, well deserved to be NBA champions. Now, people were saying this on my TikTok live last night that they were blaming the refs for this series. Officiating overall was great. All right. Overall, this year's NBA Finals was a blast. All right. Went to 7 games. Nobody expected the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals. All right. And this was a good finals. It went to 7 games. It lasted long enough for the NBA season. All right. Both teams came ready to play, back and forth going on. All right. It was a good finals. All right. But OKC, they were the better team heading into the finals, so they did what they were supposed to do. All right, now let's go from the Pacers side of the point. Indiana, what a season for the Indiana Pacers. Congratulations. Nobody expected y'all to go to the NBA Finals, to come out the Eastern Conference. And here's the thing, though. Let's go through how they got to the NBA Finals. Starting off in the first round, in the Eastern Conference first round, they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 5 games. All right. Tyrese Halliburton with the game winner to send the Bucks home. And then we go to the semifinals. They knocked out the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games. Tyrese Halliburton with another game winner. They beat the Knicks in 6. Halliburton with the game winner in game 1. And now they went to the NBA Finals and came up short to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And overall, though, Indiana could have upset OKC. If they would have won, I would have been surprised. Okay? I would have been surprised if Indiana would have won the NBA Finals, because they got a good team. Rick Carlisle's a good head coach. They're deep. They got a good bench. So Indiana, they're going to be back next year, though. Okay? They're going to be back next year. All right? So watch out for the Indiana Pacers. OKC, how they got here, all right? In the Western Conference first round, they swept the Memphis Grizzlies. That series wasn't even close. And then you go to the second round, they knock off the Denver Nuggets in 7 games. That was the best series in the second round, all right? And Denver almost upset those boys. And then they knock off the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games, which I picked Minnesota to beat them. And now NBA Finals knock off Indiana in 7 games. So overall, though, I'm going to go from OKC side. I picked them to beat Memphis and Denver, but I had them losing to Minnesota. So, and I wasn't mad about it too, though, because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is my top 3 favorite player in the league. So I really wanted him to get a ring, though. But Minnesota, they're going to be back next year. Indiana, I picked them to lose every series besides the Eastern Conference when they're playing the Knicks, because I don't like the Knicks. It's just that simple. I hate the New York Knicks. I can't stand them. Okay? I just can't stand the Knicks. So I was happy they knocked off the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, hey, what a run by the Indiana Pacers, especially for Tyrese Halliburton. It was sad to see him go out last night with an Achilles injury. Man, when he tore that Achilles, I've seen his emotions. You know what I'm saying? His emotions on the court. He left it all out there. He had 9 points before he got hurt. If Tyrese Halliburton did not get hurt, the final score was 103-91. It would have been way closer. It would have came down to the final shot. So the game would have been 10 times better. Overall, game 7 was good, but it would have been 10 times better if Tyrese Halliburton didn't get hurt. All right? So, prayers up to Tyrese Halliburton. I hope for a speedy recovery. Man, the East gonna look different next year, and I'm getting to that later on in the show. All right, but let's go over the NBA Finals as a whole. Game 1, Indiana wins 111-110. Tyrese Halliburton with the game winner. OKC wins Game 2, 123-107. Indiana wins Game 3, 116-107. OKC wins Game 4, 111-104. OKC wins Game 5, 120-109. Indiana wins Game 6, 108-91. And they win Game 7. And OKC wins Game 7, 103-91 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Overall, this was probably one of the best entertaining finals we had in a while. Y'all can complain about it all you want to. Yes, I understand we didn't expect this to be the finals matchup, but this was a good finals, all right? And here's the thing, though. Everybody expected OKC to be in this position, but nobody expected Indiana, okay? While the playoffs was going on, everybody had like OKC in Boston, OKC in Cleveland, the Lakers and Celtics, Lakers, Cavs, you know what I'm saying? In the West, everybody had OKC, the Lakers. Some people had the Nuggets. Some people had the Timberwolves. So, yeah, those were the 4 teams people had coming out the West. And then in the East, everybody was high on Cleveland and Boston, okay? But for the Indiana Pacers to get this far, they were underdogs throughout the whole playoffs. They were underdogs throughout the whole playoffs, there were underdogs against Milwaukee, underdogs against Cleveland, underdogs against New York, and there were underdogs against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals. So this team right here is going to be back next year, all right? They're going to be back next year. I feel like this team is going to win a championship in the next couple of years, all right? Because Halliburton will get a ring. But overall, that's it for the NBA Finals recap. The NBA season has came to an end last night with Game 7 of the NBA Finals. What a season it was for the NBA. 2024-2025 season was a success. All right. So that's it for the NBA Finals recap. That concluded the NBA season last night. Now we go into a little NBA all-season talk. We got the news from yesterday during Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Not during Game 7, but before Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant has been traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets. Kevin Durant will be traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th overall pick, and 5 second-round picks. Okay? So, overall, though, KD going to Houston was a great trade, all right? They needed a closer. They got another champion on their team. And the thing about it is the Houston Rockets kept their young core, okay? I love how the Houston Rockets kept their young core. They didn't have to give up a lot to get KD. So that's what I like about this trade. Houston not giving up a lot to get KD. All they gave them was Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, the 10th pick, and 5 second-round picks. That's a steal. Like, that is a steal, baby. Like, what a move by the Houston Rockets trading for Kevin Durant. And now they got a second closer on their team. The Houston Rockets are now championship contenders. And here's why. Kevin Durant makes the Houston Rockets better. Why? Because, number one, the Houston Rockets, if you look at it, the Houston Rockets won 52 games this year, and they finished number 2 in the West. All right? And they almost beat the Golden State Warriors in the 7-game series. They lost in the first round to the Golden State Warriors. They were down 3-1 and almost came back. They almost came back. So think about it. This Houston Rockets team from this season, heading into next year with Kevin Durant, you still got Amon Thompson. You still got Fred VanVleet, Alfred Şengün, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith Jr., Ken Whitmore. They still got their young core in Houston. Now adding a veteran, a future Hall of Fame player, and Kevin Durant, this team could win it all. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to be next season, but with KD in Houston, this makes the Houston Rockets championship contenders. Okay, it makes them championship contenders, and I'm going to tell you how it shakes out the whole West. So starting off with OKC, they're going to be the best team in the West with years to come. All right, young team. They got a lot of draft pick. So they're going to continue to get younger. Okay? Like I said, this team could be the start of a new dynasty. All right? So you got OKC. They're not going nowhere. SGA and them young buds ain't going nowhere. The Houston Rockets, after acquiring Kevin Durant, I think they can compete with OKC in the West. Yes, I do believe it will go. If OKC and Houston somehow meet each other in the playoffs next year, I think it's going to go to 7 games, and I won't be surprised Houston wins. I think Houston could beat OKC in a 7-game series. Okay? And they match up well with each other. Then you got the Lakers. You know, next season, Luka and LeBron running it back after a short season together. All right, so the Lakers, they're not going nowhere, but all they needed was a center. All they need is a center. Once they get that center position down packed, the Lakers are a championship contender team. All right, so you got OKC, you got Houston, you got LA, the Lakers. You got the Minnesota Timberwolves, all right, a team that went back to the conference finals this year in 2 consecutive seasons, back-to-back conference finals appearances, and nobody expected the Minnesota Timberwolves to go back to the Western Conference Finals after trading Karl-Anthony Towns. That is the surprising part. Well, I kind of knew that the Minnesota Timberwolves could go back to the conference finals by the way they were playing in the second half of the season. Before the playoffs started, the Timberwolves were my sleeper team in the West. All right. I said this because I said if the Timberwolves go back to the Western Conference Finals, they're going to the NBA Finals and win it all. And they came up short to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 5 games. So Minnesota, they ain't going nowhere. Anthony Edwards is not going nowhere. I think Julius Randle, he needs to get better at his game, showing them that he can become the second option. All right, you got to set Mike Conley back a little bit. Get a young, good point guard. They got one in Rob Dillingham. They just got to play him. And they got a young guy in Terrence Shannon who they need to play more. So overall, though, Minnesota, they're not going nowhere. So the West is stacked. OKC, Houston, LA Lakers, Minnesota Timberwolves. You got the Denver Nuggets. We got to see who is their head coach next season, though. All right, you still got Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, them boys. They're not going nowhere. You got Golden State, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. Them boys ain't going nowhere. Memphis, after trading Desmond Bain, they'll be all right. They're going to be a solid team that, makes the play-in, but who knows? All right. Then you got the Clippers. I expect the Los Angeles Clippers to take a step back next year. Okay. Overall, they're a solid team, but I expect them to take a step back. All right. So you got OKC, you got Houston, you got Los Angeles, Lakers and Clippers, you got the Minnesota Timberwolves, you got the Denver Nuggets, you got the Golden State Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies, you got the Dallas Mavericks. Don't sleep on the Mavericks, y'all. All right. I understand they traded Luka Doncic, but the Dallas Mavericks got a good team. They got the number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft. Supposed to be selecting Cooper Flag with the number 1 overall pick. Let's see if they do that, which I believe they will. Because if they do, they got a good point guard that they can run their offense through while Kyrie is hurt. So, but overall, though, I would like to talk about this general Mavericks team, the current roster right now. Now, I believe the Dallas Mavericks, with the roster they have, they are a championship team. Okay, they are a championship caliber team. Because look at their starting lineup. Kyrie Irving, when healthy. Kyrie Irving, PJ Washington, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and then you got Daniel Gafford as a 6-man. If that team stays healthy, the Dallas Mavericks got a squad, and they are a top 5, top 6 team in the West. And I believe they can challenge OKC. And this team can go to the Western Conference Finals. I won't be surprised if they make it out the West by how good they are. All right, they got a good bench. Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 player in the league. So Dallas got a squad. All right. Phoenix, I don't expect Phoenix to do that much next year, though. They got to do something in free agency. You got San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and them boys. So the West is going to be tough next year. All right. The West is going to be tough next year. And now we go over to the East side, how things shake up. In the East side, you got notable injuries from all-star players. You got Damian Lillard with an Achilles injury from the Milwaukee Bucks. Jason Tatum with a huge injury from the Boston Celtics. He got hurt in Game 4 of the NBA playoffs. And now Tyrese Halliburton. So the East is going to look different next year with those 3 teams. All right, you got Boston, Milwaukee, and Indiana. All right, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, those 3 players fear to have Achilles injuries, so they're going to be out for a while next season, though. So that could shake up a lot of things in the East. Meanwhile, you still got the Cleveland Cavaliers, all right? Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, the boys aren't going nowhere. You got the New York Knicks. Once they find a head coach, they'll be a good team. You got Detroit, Kay Cunningham, them boys, young bloods. Them bad boys in Detroit, hey, they're a good team. You got the Orlando Magic after acquiring Desmond Bain. I think they're going to be a solid top 5 team in the East. Hey, you got my Atlanta Hawks. If we stay healthy, we should be a top 6 team in the East. And here's the thing, though. It was a sad season for my Atlanta Hawks. We finished the season with 40 wins. Jalen Johnson went down in January with a season-ending injury. Capella went down. Larry Nance went down. I feel like if those 3 guys never got hurt, we would have had at least about 45 to 50 wins, and we would have been in the playoffs. Yes, I said it. If Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella, and Larry Nance Jr. did not get hurt, the Atlanta Hawks would have made the playoffs. And by the way the Eastern Conference playoffs look, the Atlanta Hawks could have made it out the East this year. But, hey, we got to attack the offseason, come back stronger, and be ready, man. I'm ready for my Atlanta Hawks to turn up for the ATL next year. I think Trae Young is going to turn up for the city and do some good things. But otherwise, though, it's the offseason, man. One thing we should address is the center position. Once we get a good center in the draft, a good lock there to Trae Young, I think we're going to be a great team. All right. So overall, though, the East could be a little different next year, though. Oh, in the Bucks, I like to mention, is Giannis staying in Milwaukee? Because I believe he's going to stay in Milwaukee because I don't see him playing nowhere else but Milwaukee. Okay, I just don't see him playing anywhere else. So I believe Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee. But, man, next year's NBA season is going to look different. Okay? But otherwise, though, I expect this to be one of the craziest off seasons we had in the NBA for a while. I expect a lot of big names to be called, a lot of trades to happen. I expect my Atlanta Hawks to do something. Okay? So I will see what happens in free agency. And then you got the NBA draft coming on Wednesday. So I get to see who my Atlanta Hawks are drafting. But otherwise, though, what a phenomenal season from the NBA. The 24-25 season was a success. And one of my favorite moments I love from the NBA season, the Luka Doncic trade. That trade made the 2024-2025 NBA season because nobody expected this trade to happen, okay? Because look at it. Heading into the season, Luka Doncic was still on the Mavericks, a team that just went to the NBA Finals, expected to go back. Anthony Davis was still on the Mavs. And before the trade happened, the Lakers were 5th in the West, and the Mavericks were 8th. And then all of a sudden, this trade just came out of nowhere. That trade was probably one of the best moments of the season. It was a shocker. It was unexpected. It just came out of nowhere. And we didn't hear no trade rumors about the Mavs are exploring trades for Luka Doncic. So that's one of the most craziest moments we had as NBA fans this season. But next season, though, I think this NBA season, next season, 2025-2026 NBA season, should be a blast. All right? But a lot of injuries, though, so it could shake up the East and the West. So we just got to see how that goes on. And that's it for today's episode of the Report. I just want to come on here and recap the NBA Finals. KD being traded to the Rockets. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning Finals MVP. Congratulations. Congrats to the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning the NBA Finals. You are the 2025 NBA champions. And this will be my last episode on the podcast for a while, okay? After tonight's episode, I will be taking a break from the podcast. But don't worry, though. I will still be on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure y'all go ahead and follow me on the TikTok, Instagram at @D_Report. After tonight, I'll be taking a break from the podcast, and I will be back by August, by the start of the NFL preseason, okay? Since, ain't really nothing much going on in the summer, you got NBA free agency, you got the offseason, the draft, NFL season's about to come up. So stay tuned for some NFL content, all right? And I will still talk about some NBA too, some NBA free agency moves and stuff like that. I'll talk about that on my Instagram and my TikTok, but I'll be probably talking about a lot of NFL because I am ready for football season now that the NBA season's over. Usually when the NBA season's over for me, I'm automatically ready for football season. After basketball season, click, my mind goes to football. All right, so I'm ready for football season. June's about to be over. July is next month. July is next week. You got training camps about to start for these 32 teams. And so that concludes today's episode of the No Report. I appreciate everybody that joined. I appreciate all the love and support. I'll be taking a break for the podcast for a little while. I'll be back in August, but I might show up on here. Okay, who knows? I might show up on here, but as of now, I'll be taking a break from the podcast. I will be on my regular social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok at @D_Report. Instagram and TikTok is the same thing, @D_Report. Well, I appreciate everybody that joined. Be safe. Have a good rest of your day. Nard out.